We wanted to welcome you to this month's seminar called Vacations on a Budget. This seminar is going to be presented by Sherry Siebert, LPF Homes Manager, Daisha Clark, Assistant Director, Kansas SBDC, and Leslie Bocanegra, LPF Homes, PSU Student Lead. So you have to ask yourself, is vacation good or bad? It's definitely good. Studies have shown that taking time away from the job can have some physical and mental health benefits. People who take vacations have lower stress, less risk of heart disease, a better outlook on life, and more motivation to achieve goals. So you can see in the top 7 reasons that's on the slide, there's the stress reduction. It can improve your health, your productivity. You actually become more creative afterwards by taking a break. You become happier and open to new perspectives. And the most important part is you offer yourself some family or self-time.
So we are going to start right here in our own city of Pittsburgh, Kansas, and talk about all the fun things that you can do, and you can call it a staycation. So I'm going to start off. A lot of the things that we have tried to present are fairly low cost, and most of them are family friendly for our LPF families. So the first one, Kittyland, all the kids love to go to Kittyland. You can see the train up there in the picture, and recently within the last couple years, our city of Pittsburgh Parks and Recreation has taken over Kittyland. It used to be ran by a private private company, but now the city has taken that over, and it includes the train there. We have a brand new carousel that was redone. It's only been a part of Kittyland for maybe the past couple months. There's a roller coaster, planes, Ferris wheel cars, and tubs, all the fun things that the kids like to do. Fairly low cost. The next thing I have on the list is Wilderness Park. That is just one along with 12 other parks that we have in Pittsburgh. So a lot of parks to visit. Wilderness Park specifically has over 4 miles of trails. There's 4 fishing pits. Another park that is popular that's on 4th Street is called Schlanger. It has a new splash pad and a sensory garden, a skate park, a sand volleyball courts, 18-hole disc golf course. Another one of our parks is called 23rd Street Bike Park that has lots of single track biking lanes, or you can hike out there. They've done a lot of work on it in the last 5 years. Lakeside Park, it obviously has a lake. It's got good playground equipment, a nice shady park area. And then Lincoln Park has several shelters available, several different play areas, and that's where Kittyland is located. Another thing that you could do in Pittsburgh is visit the Crawford County Historical Museum that has exhibits and workshops and classes and events and talks all about how Crawford County came to be. It talks about the mining days. Right now, the exhibit has a Miss Kansas dress in there that's being exhibited, and they offer different kinds of workshops there and have several events throughout the year. In November, there's actually they will go and talk about what parts of Crawford County are haunted. So that's kind of a cool event that's actually coming up in November. Then we have the Veterans Memorial Amphitheater, which sits on the Pitt State campus over by the Student Rec Center. It actually has a half-size replica of the permanent memorial wall that is in Washington, D.C. It also features more than 3,400 engraved granite pavers that pay tribute to veterans and veterans organizations. Another cool thing about the Veterans Memorial Amphitheater is it displays all 50 flags in the United States. So that's kind of cool. Somewhere educational to take your children. And then shopping in our downtown. Our downtown is growing. We have a new bookstore downtown. We have axe throwing. We have women's boutiques, clothing boutiques. We have a men's clothing boutique. All kinds of different food options. You can get ice cream downtown. All kinds of good stuff to eat downtown. And then we would be neglect if we did not mention Big Brutus. Obviously, it's not in Pittsburgh, but it's a short, maybe 15-20 minute drive. It's in West Mineral, Kansas. Big Brutus is the nickname of the electric. Sherry.
Think about the size of that extension cord. Seriously.
So when I was first looking at this, I didn't even realize that it said electric. I was just like, yeah, it's electric. And she was like, it's electric. I'm like, oh, to have something electric in the 60s and 70s. It was the second largest of its type in the 60s and 70s. And if you look online and see pictures of it, you can stand in the bucket. A full-size, man can stand in the bucket and they just look like they're midgets. So this thing is like massive. So that's a big hit for kids. Love to go see that. And the visitor center there actually has hot showers and they have spots for camping, even RV hookups. So admission to Big Brutus is $8.75 for adults and $5.50 for children 6 to 12, and children under 5 are free. So lots of good things to do. And I didn't obviously even name everything that you can do in Pittsburgh. So next up is Fort Scott, Kansas. That is my hometown. So I'm excited to be able to tell you a little bit about the fun things that you can do in Fort Scott. So obviously Fort Scott is named because there is a fort there. And it's an 1840s era fort that has exhibits and period furnishings on it. And there are 20 historic structures, 11 of which are original buildings. We always used to love to go into the jailhouse and like put our hands inside the thing where they would actually, put their prisoners. And they have several events throughout the year. It's just a really kind of a cool place that you can visit. You can walk around on your own, and you can also have somebody do a tour for you. Another cool thing in Pittsburgh's downtown is the Unsung Heroes Museum, which showcases the dramatic and diverse sagas of unsung heroes whose actions against injustice have changed the world. Another cool kind of history type of museum. Obviously, these are people that meant a lot to some type of era, but they weren't touted on, so that you wouldn't find these necessarily like in a history or book. So these are actually unsung, which means that they're not like they haven't been touted on enough. And this museum will also hook up teachers if you want to do a project in Unsung Heroes, like a history teacher or something. They will work with you to get that project started. So that museum is open Monday through Friday 10 to 5 and Saturday 10 to 5, and it's closed on Sunday. And then there's Gun Park, which is a 155-acre park that has 6.5 miles of single track mountain biking or hiking trails in the timber. So it's kind of cool and shaded. And some of it goes right along the Marmaton River. Gun Park also houses 14 camping sites with electric and water, an 18-hole Frisbee golf course, 2 fishing lakes, one of which is stocked with trout every year. Several different playground areas, picnic areas, shelter houses that you can rent, several that are enclosed that have running water and electricity. Also, Fort Scott has a nice aquatic center with 2 slides, 2 diving boards, a play area for kids. Cost is $3 for adults and $2 for kids. And then this historic driving tour. So I already said I was from there and I have never done this, but I'm going to. So when I was researching everything, just to make sure that I had everything down, this popped up on the Chamber's website. And you can take a self-directed tour where you will drive past 52 homes built between 1842 and 1919. And there's this cool driving tour brochure that you can print off online in a PDF, or you can pick one up at the Chamber that kind of directs you where to go. And downtown shopping, Fort Scott is doing a great job of revitalizing their downtown area. They have a neat used bookstore, several antique shops, several clothing boutique stores, and then lots of places to eat downtown. Papa Don's Pizza, Sharky's, New Grill, Luther's Barbecue, Crooner's Lounge, and we're getting ready to have a brand new one. It's supposed to open up September 1st. It's called Pizza Republic downtown. So lots of good things happening in downtown Fort Scott. So another fun place to visit.
Your downtown shopping area in Fort Scott is amazing. I'm never there when the stores are open, but I love to stroll down that beautiful little walkway and just window shop. I mean, literally window shopping. They have so many beautiful window displays. I love it.
Yes, they've done a lot with their downtown, and people are buying downtown buildings and refixing them. And so yes, it's kind of nice to see Fort Scott kind of reviving themselves. And the next day trip we picked was to Chanute, Kansas. And the main reason I picked Chanute is because it has this safari museum there. And who doesn't want to go to a safari museum? It's ranked the #1 museum in Kansas. And it features world-class exhibits based on the stunning photography and cinematic work of the Johnsons, who came up with this idea: take only photos, leave only footprints. So the picture here on the right is actually a picture of Martin, or a sculpture of Martin and Osa Johnson. And they were photographers, and they showed, that's how they showed what they visited, but was by taking pictures. Admission is normally $6 for adult and $3 for kids, but right now through the end of December, it is free. It is being paid through by some businesses in Chanute.
Very cool.
And then they obviously have an aquatic center that's very nice there. It's free for 5 and under, and $2 for youth ages 6 and older. So again, kids usually love to swim in the heat. So all of these little places that we have mentioned that are day trips all have a little aquatic park to go to. And then Katy Park is a very nice park in Chanute that has basketball courts. It has a handball court, shelter house, playground equipment. It actually has a sensory park, a skateboard park, and tennis court. So lots of things to do there at Katy Park. Okay, our next day trip is to Independence, Kansas. And first up on the list is Riverside Park. And Riverside Park, I'll kind of talk about the first two first three really kind of together because they all kind of sit on the same property. So the Riverside Park has the Family Aquatic Center, which is open from June to mid-August, and cost is $4 a person, but they do have family nights where the cost is $5 per family of 5. That is a pretty good deal. The park also has miniature golf course, miniature train that you can ride for 50 cents a ride, a carousel you can ride for 5 cents, and then this Ralph Mitchell Zoo that is free to get into. And it's a pretty cool zoo, you guys. Like it just doesn't seem like you would have a zoo only like an hour and 10 minutes away from Pittsburgh, but it's there. And it's free. That's even better yet. So also in this area, there is a snack shack that is open most weekends from April to October from about 1 to 5. So super cool area that has lots of different things, and you could definitely spend a whole day just right there in that area. Another thing in Independence is the Little House on the Prairie Museum. And so who doesn't love Laura Ingalls Wilder? Especially this would be a cool trip if you had even read a couple of the Little House on the Prairie books to your children. And the inside is open from March 15th to November 1st, 10 to 5 daily. Adults are $5 and kids are $3. And then Neowalla is the last full week of October. And if you don't know anything about Neowalla, it's actually Halloween spelled backwards. And Neowalla has several parades throughout the week. People dress up, kids dress up, adults dress up. You can dress your dog up. So all things spooky, all things Halloween for the last full week in October in Independence. A do not miss event.
And they have good food there too.
Oh yes, lots of good food vendors. Very well worth it for the food. Thank you. Yes, could not forget the food. And then there is an Independence Historical Museum and Art Center that is open from 10 to 4 Tuesday through Saturday. And this is a big gallery, you guys. It has a 1869 furnished log cabin inside this museum. It has an 1884 school classroom set up, an old general store, a doctor's office, a bedroom, a dining room, a parlor, a kitchen, a toy room, a blacksmith shop, all kinds of things from this 1880 era. And super cool. So another cool thing you can do in Independence. And then of course, eating. They have it's called Annie Mae's Coffee and Sandwich Shop. It's owned locally. And then El Poblito Mexican Restaurant. So both of those are good places to eat. Okay, so that kind of wraps up our day trips that we're going to talk about. The next thing that we are going to go to talk about are weekend trips. So the first one is to Bentonville, Arkansas. Obviously you could make this a day trip, but we believe there's enough there that you could definitely make a weekend trip out of it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the Scott Family Amazeum, and adult and kids, no matter how old you are, is $11. And the Amazeum is about 50,000 square feet of exhibit and interactive learning spaces. They encourage all guests to dress for active exploration, and because your visit could include walking, climbing, bending, and maybe getting a little bit of water on you. So they want you to dress appropriately for that. Right now, one of their exhibits is a Hershey's lab. Hershey chocolate lab. I don't know if that perks up anybody else's ears besides me, but all I can think when I hear Hershey's is a s'more. So cool lab. That's just one of them that's open right now in the Amazium. There's a water area, hence the having appropriate clothing on, that allows children to discover how water does all things, falls and flows, and how water pours and how it moves. And then you can role play in a Walmart market, which is super fun for the kids to get to be the register person and for kids to get to be the customers. And it just looks like a little a small Walmart. So I should have mentioned at the beginning, all of the links or all of the things that you see that are underlined have links. So if you are watching this later and you want this presentation, so you can click on the links, you will be able to, our contact information is at the end of the slide. And if it's not, then we will state our email addresses, because I'm thinking now it's not at the end of the slide. Is it at the beginning? I know we put our names at the beginning. I can't remember if we put our emails or not, but we will get our emails to you at the end here. So the second thing, Crystal Bridges, it is free. Obviously, I love the word free. A world-class collection of American art and exhibitions, stunning architecture, 120 acres of Ozark nature with 5 miles of trails. So this picture up here on the top right is actually a picture of what Crystal Bridges looks like in the nighttime.
It's a beautiful park. I mean, if you don't go to Bentonville, Arkansas for anything else, Crystal Bridges is well worth it. It's stunning.
Thank you. And the next thing is the Walmart Museum in Bentonville. So obviously most people know that Walmart started in Bentonville, Arkansas. And so they are home to the museum, a world-class exhibit gallery honoring and celebrating Walmart's legacy. You can see Sam Walton's actual office, who is Walmart's founder. His favorite old Ford truck actually sits outside the building. You can enjoy a treat from the Spark Cafe, which is a 1950s style soda fountain and coffee shop. And you can also shop for toys, candy, and other fun items in the original Walton 5 and 10. And the last thing is, and definitely not least, Bentonville is known as a mountain bike capital of the world. And as you can see you can see my picture there at the bottom. Only 1 block away from Bentonville's downtown, you can get immediate access to the best rides any novice or expert rider could hope for, along with 40 miles of trails and another 150 miles of unrivaled regional trail network. So lots of places to ride your bikes. You will notice if you go to Bentonville that the stores and the restaurants definitely cater and have embraced the bike culture.
Very cool. I like how that bike trail looks like it's all wooden.
I know, it's so awesome. Can you imagine riding your bike up on top of that?
I'm even attracted to that, and I'm not much of a biker.
Okay.
Okay, so sticking with our Arkansas theme, I wanted to talk about a weekend trip to Eureka Springs. So Eureka Springs is a great destination. It's only 2.5 miles away from Pittsburgh, Kansas. Eureka Springs and the surrounding areas are so beautiful, with plenty of opportunities for outdoorsy stuff like the hiking, canoeing, biking, climbing, and camping. The chain stores. I thought this was an interesting little fact about Eureka. Chain stores aren't allowed in downtown Eureka Springs. So the streets are literally crawling with mom and pop restaurants, taverns, and craft shops. Really fun to go to. So a couple things that I pointed out on the slide is something called Thorn Crown Chapel. And it's the picture that's in the top right-hand corner of the slide. This is located just outside of Eureka Springs, and it was constructed in 1980. The design is reminiscent of the architecture that was popularized by Frank Lloyd Wright. It's a non-denominational chapel that's really set up for meditation. The chapel looks like an open air structure, but in fact, it is an enclosed and air-conditioned space that seats up to 100 people. So one of the little factoids about it is it's actually 6,000 square feet of just glass. It is open daily from March to December with free admission. It's closed in January and February. You still can get married there and have special events. Non-denominational church services are held there on Sundays from April through December. Another thing that's interesting about the area is Eureka Springs historic downtown. There's just a lot of stuff going on downtown. Everything from spas to quirky shops and galleries, eclectic eating places, taverns, and Basin Spring Park. You can stroll down Main Street, you can explore the unique shops, you can dine underground, who knew? You can have lunch, you can take a carriage ride or explore the history with downtown walking tours. So a lot of Eureka, they have little narrow streets. And so it really is about the walking with a lot of interesting shops that you can see in the windows and choose which shop that you want to go into. There is a tour called Discover the Behind the Scenes Secrets of Eureka Springs that talks about the entertaining view of the history of the town. This is a walking tour. Tickets are $17.50 per person, and kids 12 and under are free. Switching over to something a little cooler, Beaver Lake. Beaver Lake is actually a man-made reservoir in the Ozark Mountains of Northwest Arkansas. You can kayak, swim, fish, sail, rent some boats. You can scuba dive there, or you can simply just enjoy the sunset. The waters there are crystal clear, and I mean crystal clear. The last time I went swimming in Beaver Lake, I could look down and see my toes. You can easily get to Beaver Lake from Eureka Springs. It's only 31 miles away. It's free to see the lake, dip your toes in, or fish for as low as the cost of a fishing license, which is only $11 for the day. Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge. This one, I'm going to have to go see it. This is actually a nonprofit organization that provides lifetime refuge for abandoned, abused, or neglected big cats. The cost for adults is $32. Teens are $20 and kids $15. If you have a child that's 0 to 3, it's $0. Open every single day of the year with the exception of Christmas. Crescent Hotel is the last one that's on my list to talk about in Eureka Springs. It's a lovely historic hotel, and it's billed as America's most haunted hotel and offers a ghost tour. Ooh. It's a nice getaway for anyone. Built of native limestone in 1886 with a grand Victorian theme. Rooms are as low as $129 a night, and it does offer ghost tours. During the ghost tour, you can hear the stories of the resident spirits in the places where they happened. Pricing for the ghost tour is $29.50 per person, and children under the age of 12 can receive a discount during the earlier tour times. Before we move on from Eureka, I have stayed in the Crescent Hotel. It's free to go into the hotel. You can take an elevator or the stairs. You can go to the top of the hotel and out onto some of the viewing decks. Many people get married there on the property because it's stunning with its gardens, and it kind of sits up on a bluff. So when you're out on one of the touring decks, you can actually see the whole town of Eureka and the surrounding areas. It's beautiful. Just in case you're not interested in the ghost tours or staying there. The next slide is Branson, Missouri. So Branson, Missouri is located a little over 2 hours away from Pittsburgh, Kansas. It's located in the Ozarks and is known as the family vacation destination. Silver Dollar City is perhaps the biggest draw to the area, and tickets for children under 3 are $0. Adults are $79, and senior citizens have earned a discount and they get their ticket pricing for $69. I've been to Silver Dollar City many times in my life, and I can tell you, when you are in Branson or you're at Silver Dollar City, you hear from people who have come from states away just to see Branson, the shows there, Silver Dollar City. It's just amazing that the amount of draw that it brings in. So one of the things that I notated also is Whitewater is actually bolted onto Silver Dollar City, but the ticket pricing is very favorable if you get a ticket for both Silver Dollar City and Whitewater. So, what's better than to spend a little hot day in Silver Dollar City, and then you can jump on over to Whitewater and cool off over there. So special pricing for both parks are $89 a ticket, which is a savings of about $38 per ticket. The next bullet that I have down here to illustrate is the Branson Landing fountain shows. These shows are incredible and a must-see if you're going to be in the area. It's known as an extravagant water feature with 120-foot fountains and fire cannons that's set to light displays and music. It's actually the picture that's in the top right of the slide, and that's taken from the perspective of Lake Taneycomo. Branson Landing itself is a scenic boardwalk area with shops and restaurants along Lake Taneycomo. It's very cold. It's about 52 degrees. The fountains were introduced in 2006 when the landing was built. The cost to see it is free. And the folks who designed it also designed the Bellagio in Las Vegas. Another point that kind of was interesting to me, something to see, is something called the Shrine of the Holy Spirit. TripAdvisor actually gives this a 4.5-star thumbs up. It's a monument that's was dedicated in April 2010 and has association with our very own Gene Bicknell from the Pittsburgh, Kansas area. It was his vision that helped build this monument, and many say it's a great place to go for meditation. Downtown trolley. Personally, I haven't done this one yet, but when I was reading about the things to do in Branson, I was even surprised at things that, that they had this trolley. The trolley actually has a name. It's Sparky. So Sparky is a free downtown Branson trolley serving 13 stops, including Main Street, Branson Landing, and the Convention Center. It operates all year round. So I think that would be fun, even if I, didn't need it. I think I still want to ride it. Shepherd of the Hills. It's a family entertainment park, and it's centered around legendary outdoor drama. So it's a show, really. Tickets are $39.75 for an adult and $22.75 for a child. The story of the Shepherd of the Hills is interesting and began with a shepherd who stopped in the Ozark area to rest. He began to love the country folk of the Ozarks and especially connected with the Matthews family. He based a novel, and these folks became the inspiration for his characters in the show. Heard it's very entertaining. The last thing that made my slide for Branson, Missouri is Top of the Rock Lost Canyon Cave. This is a beautiful park. I've been on it a couple of times and I don't get tired of it. It is a 2.5-mile journey on an electric cart to explore fountains, a cave, flowers, animals, and just nature. It also includes a bat bar for a cool beverage. You can get a cool beverage. It can be alcoholic or non-alcoholic. You can get both. A single day ticket is based on what day you go. So pick a day on the website, plan your visit accordingly. The tour is something that you can take at your own pace. You can stop and go with plenty of photo ops. The times that I've gone, they have these beautiful water fountains and covered bridges and windy concrete paths. And I don't know, it's just, and you never know where little animals are going to jump out of the rocks and kind of, you know, come out and look at you. So it seems like photo ops are everywhere in this place. It's very nice.
Right. So I'm going to be talking about Kansas City. It's only a little big city about 2 hours away from Pittsburgh. There's quite a bit of things. So you could go there for a whole day, or you could go there for a weekend and still manage to have the entire time filled with a tons of things to do over there. I've been there for sporting Kansas City games, for Chiefs games, I haven't been to a Royals game, but you could go for that too. Aside from all of those, Kansas City has a ton of free things to do. So if you just happen to be in the city and you have nothing to do, there's actually a lot of recommendations. So like one of them, for example, is the Kansas City streetcar, which is basically like a little trolley / bus that goes through the Power and Light District. And you can hop on and hop off, and it's completely free. And there's a ton of things to see in the Power and Light District. You have like the Sprint Center and a bunch of restaurants and murals and all kinds of things to look around in that area. Something that's kind of close to the Power and Light District is the Crown Center. And over there, they have a shopping mall, they have ice skating, they have an aquarium. They have, if you have kids, they have a really big like playground setup kind of thing there that a lot of kids like to play on. So in Crown Center, there's just a lot of things if you want to walk around and take a look at things without having to spend a lot of money. There's that. Kansas City is also known as the city of fountains. So throughout the city of Kansas City, there's just a bunch of different fountains that you can look at, especially in the Crown Plaza. There's a really nice one there that I took a picture with one. So that was pretty nice. And then another thing to do in Kansas City, there's a place called Kaleidoscope, which is basically a really big art studio that welcomes people of all ages. And you can go there, and it says on their website or something that they want to open child's imagination. So they have all different kinds of art forms that kids can use to express themselves with, and it's free to get in. So it's a pretty good kind of day activity. Another thing, there's the Arboretum and the Botanical Gardens, which I honestly might not come off as interesting at first, but if you think about the fact that trees and different kinds of like vegetation tend to be different around the United States, the Overland Park Arboretum really gives a good, kind of background to the kind of trees and nature that you would find in this kind of area. So I think that was pretty interesting, and it's another free thing to do. In that picture, you'll actually see Union Station, which is the train station in Kansas City. You can see it there, and it's free to get in. Across from Union Station, there's also the World War I Museum, and that's pretty interesting to go to as well. I happened to have gone on November 11th when it's Veterans Day, so they were having a whole thing at the museum. They also have a really tall, I don't want to call it like I don't know. They have this really tall building that you can go and see like the skyline of Kansas City in, which is also pretty cool to do. Last but not least, I will recommend the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art, which I'm a big art geek. So I like to go and spend a lot of time there. They have like Claude Monet's The Water Lilies, just a bunch of like really cool, renowned pieces of art. So if you want to spend the day there and not have to spend a lot of money, Nelson Atkins is for you. So that's just kind of all of the things that you can fill your weekend or your day with in Kansas City. It's a lot of things to do.
All right, so let's get a little bit further out of our presentation topics. I've put together just a few destination points that actually when I Googled, vacations on a budget in the US, these 4 things came up as #1 topics. So although the main components of the presentation have been about vacations on a budget, a focus on what's close in our backyard. If you want to get out and drive somewhere or get in a plane and fly somewhere, here's some really good places to try. #1, there's Yellowstone, Wyoming. So my family's been all interested in Yellowstone ever since the series have come out. They really just want to go and see that and become ranchers. Who knew? But it's best known for its national park. And of course, this is a place that you go to in the summer. You would not want to go there in any other part of the year, according to the everything that I read about it. Yosemite, California, that's going to be the picture that's on the lower left. Look at the beauty of that. I would venture to say that there is no filter on that. Yosemite, California is best known for its waterfalls. In both of these parks that I'm talking about here, they say that you can do a lot of camping there if camping is of interest to you. Of course, not pulling a camper, gas prices are too high right now, but tent camp or find a cute little Airbnb and you're probably set. So the next slide shows a few more destination areas that hit the top 5. So over on the left, bottom left-hand corner, we see Destin, Florida. White sand beaches. I've actually had an opportunity to go to Destin. I kind of thought, I've seen an ocean on the West Coast, had never really seen water this blue. It was stunning. So, we did a lot of walking. You can listen to the ocean. The ocean's warm. It's saltwater, so it's fun to go in and do a little bit of snorkeling and see all sorts of cute, cool fishes.
And you can even drive.
You can drive to Destin. Yes,
you can drive to Destin. It's a full day, but it is drivable. Speaking from experience,
it's gorgeous there. So switching, continuing our trend with the East Coast, there's Washington, D.C., the capital. This is something that's still on my vacation destination bucket list. I would like to see the history and just the beauty and magnificence of our capital and everything that it represents. So everything that I read says, go to Washington in the spring. Everything is beautiful there in the spring.
Yes, because that's when the cherry blossom trees are blooming.
Wasn't it George Washington who's, I cannot tell a lie, he cut down the cherry.
Yes.
Anyway.
So Washington, D.C. obviously has lots of different presidential monuments, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, so many cool things, monuments to see, and a lot of them you're just walking around. They don't cost any money to view them.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Last one to talk about is South Padre Island, Texas. Haven't been there personally. I know it is a favorite vacation destination. I've heard it's an easy drive, best known for its warm Gulf waters. And so a lot of families go there to take their children to see the ocean for the first time, because it is, a fairly, something like an 8-hour drive to get from Kansas to South Padre. So, yeah. So that's a little bit of seeing the US. So some cost savings ideas, whether you're, going for a weekender or you're going to go out and see a little bit of the US and beyond. One of the things that we found for some cost savings ideas was travel with friends and family. When I read about that or, saw it, I thought, I don't want to get in a car for 8 hours. So it doesn't necessarily have to do that. But what is kind of fun is if you get an Airbnb and one with several bedrooms, you can split the cost with your family. You kind of all congregate there and, it's your home base and it's wonderful cost splitting. Another idea is travel midweek. You can save from all of the nonsense that goes on the weekends. Travel midweek, you can see a lot more, and prices are cheaper. Use camping ideas or Airbnb instead of hotel stays. Do your research, really. Just check out the best months to travel to wherever your destination is, and save on rates and avoid the crowds. And lastly, the last bullet is plan in advance, so you know what the costs are and where you want to go.
Another thing that takes a lot of planning in advance is any kind of international travel, which I will be talking about in this section. This year, I've been lucky enough to travel to actual Mexico, Italy, and France. So I'm just going to talk about a little bit about like how I got there, kind of like my mindset. So here, whenever you're thinking about getting yourself out of the Southeast Kansas area or even the United States, you're going to have to involve taking your mindset to another place first, which is like just trying to make yourself be prepared for a realistic like goal. And you want to kind of be prepared for anything that might come out of your way. You want to be prepared to potentially step out of your comfort zone, just because with going anywhere, you're going to be embracing a new culture, probably a language barrier, with the different kinds of like exchange rates, new kinds of things that come up with international travel. You'll just want to become mentally prepared for anything that might happen, and just be aware that there might be obstacles that come up that could get in the way of getting to your location. But having a traveler's mindset that working around things and that things will eventually plan out gets you a long way when it comes to traveling internationally. So if you want to go to the next slide, I'll go ahead and just talk about some of the costs. So if you don't have a passport, one thing that you're going to need for traveling internationally anywhere is a passport. There's a $135 application fee, acceptance fee. You'll need to get your picture taken somewhere. So if it's at like the post office or at like a Walgreens, there's a fee for that. And then once you get it all done, processing for passports can actually take from 8 to 11 weeks. Last year, my family was going to visit Cancun, and my mom had applied for her passport sometime in March, but due to the whole COVID and stuff, it took more than 11 weeks. And we just happened to get the passport the week before we were going to go to Mexico. So we were really lucky about that. But just be aware that processing can take a long time, and usually it takes a long time for people to get in contact with. So just be prepared for that. If you want to think about traveling internationally, whether it be driving or airfare or boats or whatever it may be, you want to think about how to pay for that. Just like with traveling anywhere, you'll think about lodging. There's usually hotels in most places. Airbnb and Vrbo are starting to become really big on lodging in other countries. So that's something that could be a low budget as well. And then you want to think about paying for like meals, and then in-country transportation, shopping, entertainment, souvenirs, all kinds of things like that. There's a lot of financial planning that goes into it. And then like I have on the side, here's just some other costs. If you travel, say with like a group or like a travel agency, most of the time they'll offer you like an insurance that you'll buy, which most of the time they'll make it optional. But if you think about it in the long term, traveling internationally nowadays post COVID, a lot can go wrong. So getting a travel insurance can be beneficial, but it's also an optional cost. Currency exchange rates, those can also fluctuate every day. So before you travel, work it out with the bank to get the best possible exchange rate with the currency that you're using in the country you're going to. Another thing is credit card transactions sometimes can put foreign fees on any of your purchases, which is something that I figured out the hard way in Europe. But you'll just want to be aware of those kinds of fees that come up with credit cards. And then another, cell phone plans, also important. If you want to use any kind of mobile data, you'll need to prepare for that in advance. And then with taxes, most of the time, the United States is like the only country where you have to calculate the tax yourself. But in countries like Mexico or even Italy and France, the tax is already included in the price in those places. So those are just a bunch of financial costs to think about whenever you travel anywhere internationally. But there's also a bunch of other things that could come up too. So just try to prepare in advance for what could come up. The way that I was able to reach my financial goals was I had to sit myself down and I had to like list all of my purchases and come up with a budget, think about how much money I was actually making every paycheck or so. And I just had to come up with a month, like a monthly budget, like a monthly amount of money that I had to make every month that I can set to the side. So, and it's ideal that you want to create a savings goal once you finally calculate how much your trip is going to cost you. And once you make that goal, it's easier for you to reach that that step. And once you like review your monthly expenses and you limit things that you spend unnecessarily, it makes a difference in your budget just because every dollar counts when it comes to planning these kinds of things. So one thing that I had to realize whenever I was first planning to go to Europe was I was spending about $2 every day on iced coffee. So it's like, it's literally like those $2 that you spend every day, would you rather spend it here in the United States or would you rather spend it in Italy eating pasta? So it's like, it's those kinds of mentalities that you have to bring upon yourself when it comes to financial expectations. So the next few slides are just some of the things I was able to do on my travels. This was me in Italy. So I got to eat pasta in Italy. Never imagined myself doing that. I got to try actual Italian pizza. I got to visit the Colosseum, the Vatican City. I never imagined myself going to the Vatican just because I went to Catholic school growing up. I always like imagined it somewhere, but I didn't think it was real. So being able to see it in person was actually really cool. There's a Trevi fountain. There's a fountain I was sitting next to in Italy whenever I was eating gelato. And then on top of that is the statue of David, which is made in Italy too. So there's that. The next slide was when I got to visit France right after. The top, well, I guess there's just a lot of things like Paris, you know, Eiffel Tower, everyone goes there, but I got a picture with it. I got to visit the Louvre. I got to have a crepe in France. If you see like kind of, there's that picture of like that egg with the bread on it. That's called a croque madame, which is a French kind of cuisine that I learned about in a class that I was taking before I went. So I was actually really excited to try that. I got to visit the catacombs, the St. Michael Fountain, the Notre Dame Cathedral, Palace of Versailles. There's just so many different things to do in Europe. And I only went for 10 days and I feel like I didn't even get to begin to see all of it. So those are just some pictures from my time in Europe. And then the next slide was my time in Mexico. So I just went last June, and then we went previously in January this year, and then we're going to go again in December. We really like going to Mexico just because we have a lot of family there. You see in the bottom left, that's part of my mom's family that was able to come to the party. So we're able to go to Mexico a lot just because we're able to stay with our family there, which does reduce a lot of those costs of going. But there's still a lot of things to do in Mexico. So like there's pictures of me like in the town center, me in the desert, next to some of the Mexican vegetation, cathedrals, got to visit like bakeries, all different kinds of landmarks just in the general area of Mexico. And yeah, there's just so much, and the food was really good too, I'll say that. So just being able to travel anywhere like internationally is just super cool. You get to experience different cultures, different languages. You get to watch the different people and the way that they interact with each other. And it just really like opens up your mind to different experiences that you just never thought about. I think there's still one more slide with, yeah, so that's just my fundraising. I was kind of crazy in my savings for it. Was I picked up 2 other jobs once I realized how much money I was going to need to travel internationally. But with my on-campus job, I split my paycheck into 40% of my spent, or 40% of it spent and 60% saved. And my off-campus job, I saved my checks and spent my cash. And then I have a my own business, I take pictures, and just I offered a bunch of sessions with my friends and family, and I saved all of the money that I got from that. So if you just want to come up with like some of your own ideas of how to save that kind of money, Daisha and Sherry offer a really good video called Side Gig Traditional Revenue that we did earlier this year. That just offers a bunch of different side hustles that you can pick up if you think you're going to need some extra cash. So it's really beneficial just to remember that every dollar counts when it comes to traveling internationally. And even if you have a large financial goal that you're going to reach, if you continue to make that process and continue past the obstacles, you get the goal of being able to experience another culture and go somewhere else that you probably might never visit in your lifetime. So traveling internationally is really cool, just like traveling anywhere. And it's possible if you just, keep working at it. So there's that.
And I love the fact that we have a student that is showing how it is attainable to be able to travel internationally. So thank you for sharing your experiences with us, Leslie.